So many people who have a history of abuse or neglect have felt like they don't know themselves. They've had those days, those moments, or even just a perpetual feeling of I don't know who I am. Some have said it's because they've spent so much time faking emotions that now they feel like they don't know who they really are. They don't know how they actually feel. They may have difficulty identifying their emotions. Um, for a variety of reasons, people get to a point in their life where they feel like they don't know who they are. Um, Now, this is not like an amnesia like in the movies where someone wakes up and they're like, I don't know who I am. And then they go on a quest to find out their true identity and to prove that there's some big conspiracy. This is much deeper and more confusing because they know who they are in the sense of they know their name and they know their title, or they know they're a fireman, they know they're a teacher, they may know their parents, but when they say they don't know who they are, they're talking about a deeper, more existential crisis that they're experiencing. They're saying, I don't know who I am inside. I'm not connected to my core where I feel like I'm confident in my personal identity. And so this is a very serious issue because it creates ripple effects in every area of a sufferer's life. When you don't feel like you know who you are, you don't feel like you know how to respond to all of the little issues and crises that come up. You don't feel like you can make decisions. You don't feel confident in your decisions. So this really creates a very big crisis for those who are suffering from it. A lot of times this is because they had a harsh parent or harsh caregivers that didn't validate their identity, that didn't validate their emotions. So if your caregiver was constantly telling you that you need to smile, even though you're not happy, and they don't want to see you crying, they don't want to hear your complaints, they don't validate your arguments and your point of view. All of these things can start to contribute to the erosion of the self. And if the stakes felt very high as a child, like I could get beat or made to feel really bad if I go against what my caregivers are saying, or if I upset them in any way with my adverse emotions, those stakes can make you feel like, okay, the better option for me is to just pretend or fake my emotion or change my viewpoint or my opinion to go with the status quo here. And that is survival for children in abusive homes, and a major contributor to complex post-traumatic stress as a result. And so there's no shortage of superficial advice. Even some experts have given advice that I would warn against on how to find yourself. For instance, many experts say that you need to identify with your authentic self. So those of you who have done work and read the books, you've heard about this concept of the authentic self. And so the concept is basically like there's a you, and you can find that you, but it's somewhere in your memory, and you got to go back to your childhood, and there you'll find your authentic self before you started making changes to your opinions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions. You go back to how you originally were, the way that you originally acted, or what is your knee-jerk response in certain situations. What is your first emotion? That's your authentic self. This concept is very popular, and I understand that maybe even some of you may have identified with this concept and attempted this. However, it can be problematic because it's just not universally true. For instance, for myself as a child, I was everything but authentic a lot of times. I was the undisputed class clown. I wanted to be an actor. I would pretend to be a different person depending on which kids I was hanging out with, or if I was at home, or if I was at school, or wherever I was acting just a little bit different everywhere I go, or sometimes completely different. So there was nothing really authentic. I would fake my emotions. Like I remember when my little brother was born, I saw on TV that kids would get jealous when they had a new sibling. So I acted like I was jealous that I had a new sibling. I wasn't. I didn't feel a lack of attention, but I acted like I had a lack of attention just to stir up some drama and just kind of see what happened. And so the idea, if you were to tell me now, go back and find your authentic self, my authentic self was a dramatic troublemaker. Like I don't think that's the true me. What that is that's the childhood version of myself. So for all of us, it's not going to work for us to go back and to find the more authentic version of ourselves. The reality is I'm more authentic now than I've ever been. In fact, I have to remind myself to smile at strangers and to not talk to myself while I'm walking down the street, because I've done so much work on myself that I am 100% comfortable with who I am. And I have no qualms or sense of loss as to who I am. I would never ask that question, who am I? Now I have found my authentic self, but whatever was in my childhood, that was not going to be where I'm going to discover my authentic self. So for yourself, and for those of you who are listening, how can you find yourself? So this concept is pushed in movies, television, where you go off on a quest. Maybe you pack a backpack and you go camping in the wilderness, or you go on a hike. And then some point when you're standing on a bluff, you're supposed to find yourself, maybe overlooking a sunset. Or maybe when you travel to the East and you study Buddhism, then you will be able to find yourself. But again, all of these concepts are false narratives as to what it means to be able to find yourself, to be able to know who you truly are. So I'm going to give you some true concepts that will help you to be able to find yourself. And if you have pen and paper, definitely you want to write these things down, because this journey that you're on, you need to get it on the right course, and you want to do that sooner than later, so that you can have the joy, the peace, the serenity, and the confidence of knowing exactly who you are. So first of all, in order to find yourself, you have to stop trying to find yourself. In order to find yourself, you have to stop trying to find yourself. And let me explain what I mean by that. When Thomas Edison created the light bulb, he did not find the light bulb. He did not say, I would like to go on a search to discover the light bulb. The light bulb is something that had to be invented. Now, there are things that can be discovered, like electricity, something that's intrinsic to nature. But something that electricity powers, like a refrigerator, a light bulb, or any other electronic device, those things have to be made. They have to be invented. Likewise, who you are has to be made. It has to be created. It has to be designed. It's something that you have to actually decide upon. Who you are is not something that's intrinsic to nature. You will not just find it by going out and doing a search, like it'll be off on a bluff or on the top of a mountain somewhere or something like that. That's just not true. Who you are doesn't pre-exist you outside of nature, and you just go find it. You don't come out of the womb already who you are. Who you are is something that's created and built over time. It's designed. And this is good news, because you can stop searching and you can start designing when you understand what the self really is. All of us look in the mirror and we think we're looking at ourselves, but in reality, aren't you just looking at your physical body? Isn't it true that when you look in the mirror, you're not really seeing yourself in its entirety. You're just seeing your physical body. When we say me or you, we're not just referring to someone's physical presence, just their body. We're talking about something deeper, right? When you say, I don't know who I am, you don't mean if I saw myself in the mirror, I can't recognize myself. So we're talking about something beyond the physical body. So the self, the metaphysical self, is what in psychology they call the ego. So you have to understand that what you're trying to understand is something that's beyond the physical. It's in the metaphysical. It's the self, this ego, this construct of ideas, beliefs, values, personality, experiences, everything that we know to be the self, who we are, exists within our mind. That's not to say, oh, it's all in your mind, so it's not real. It is very real. It is very real. It's just that it's not physical. It's something that exists within our mind, but it's very real. It is a construct. But that construct is so important for us to feel complete, for us to feel happy, for us to feel confident, for us to move forward. We have to know who we are. And you can find yourself by switching the focus from searching to designing, to building who you are. Let's go deeper to understand this. That self that sits in your mind, what is the self actually made of? The physical body, which is a part of yourself, it's a part of who you are, but it's not the metaphysical self. The physical body is made up of what? Well, scientists say cells. In fact, scientists say that you are what you eat. So literally what you take into your body, the body breaks it down through a process, and it takes the nutrients and actually builds cells for your body, and it sheds off old cells. So you're actually made up of physical matter, which is being supported by the food that you continue to take in. So we're built up of something, our physical body is. But what about the metaphysical self that exists only in the mind? What is it made up of? At its core, the self is made up of your values. This is very important to understand. In order to master your emotions, in order to understand the self, you must understand what the self is actually made of. The metaphysical self is made up of your values. Your values, what I'm referring to, is anything you find important, anything you truly believe in. That is what the self is made up of. That can be friendship, ideas like love, trust, finding communication to be important, finding relationships to be important, finding solitude to be important. Those are your values. It can also be material things and so-called shallow things. Your PlayStation 5 could be one of your values. Your car could be one of your values. If it's highly important to you, then that's your value. And what makes it different for everyone to have a different self, a different personality, a different state of being, is that we all have slightly different values. And what makes us work as a society is where we share some of the same values. But the values are the building blocks of the self. That is why you have emotions, especially intense emotions. Your emotions are the metaphysical self's way of interacting with the outside world, of appreciating it, enjoying it, but also warning you when there is something in your perceived reality that is a threat to the metaphysical self. The same way your physical body has the nervous system to warn you if there's something that's a threat to your physical body, it sends you pain, right? So if your hand is on a stove or you touch something sharp, it sends an immediate reaction up to the brain that you calculate as being pain. It's unpleasant. So you pull your hand away and you protect the physical body. Your emotional system is built similarly. So you get emotional pain when there's something in your perceived reality that is violating your values. Think about it. Every time you get emotional pain, it is because there is something that is violating your values. Your girlfriend breaks up with you. The reason why you feel pain is because you valued that relationship, you valued your girlfriend or something that she brought to the table. If you didn't value your girlfriend, would you feel hurt or any emotional pain if she broke up with you? No, you would not. In fact, isn't that why, as a defense mechanism, we say, I don't care. When something hurtful happens, someone goes and spreads a rumor about you to everyone in your workplace, and you say, I don't care. And you say that as a defense mechanism. People do this to defend themselves because they know intrinsically that when you separate the value from the violation in the perceived reality, then you don't feel the pain. So they're taking their value system and they're changing it. They're saying, oh, I don't care what people think of me. That way, when people don't think well of me, it doesn't hurt me. By changing your values, you protect yourself from the emotional pain. People intrinsically know that. But what I'm giving to you is so that you're taking it out of just the intrinsic subconscious understanding and getting a conscious working understanding of what's actually happening with your emotional pain. All of your anxiety is there because your subconscious is just trying to warn you about something in your perceived reality that is a threat to your value system. It's that simple. Maybe you think your boyfriend's cheating on you. So you've created a perceived reality in your mind. The subconscious doesn't know whether the reality that it's perceiving is something in the outside world, something from a dream, something from a memory, or something from your imagination. It doesn't care. It can come from any of those four sources that I just named, and it will still send you anxiety. You can literally be having a dream about your boyfriend cheating on you, and you will wake up with anxiety if you value your relationship and you value your boyfriend. Because that perceived reality is a violation of your personal values. It's a violation of the self, because the self is made up of the values. Your body is trying to protect the self. Your subconscious mind stores the value system. It stores it like a code. And when there's something in your outside world that goes against those values, it gives you the emotions. So imagine two people are walking down the street and they witness a horrific car accident. One woman goes, oh my goodness, this is terrible. We have to do something. Are they okay? I can't believe this. I'll call 911. She's frantic. She's shaking. She's sweating, right? She's got all of these emotions. The guy next to her witnessed the same exact car accident. And he goes, that's life in the big city. And then he keeps on walking. He has virtually no emotional detectable reaction to the same situation. What does that show? Well, for one, the situation does not dictate the emotions. So you can stop saying, you made me mad, or that got me upset, because the reality is that the situation does not dictate your emotions. What it is that your perceived reality violated your value system. For the woman, she got emotional because she values human life. She values kindness to strangers. She values being helpful. She values peace, harmony, not seeing car wrecks. So now when something like this happens in front of her, all those values are suddenly being violated, and her emotions get all up in a tizzy, right? But the guy, he just had a different set of values. He doesn't care about strangers. Just his personal set of values. He doesn't care about people he doesn't know. And maybe he's worried about getting to work on time. Different values. So his emotional reaction is different. So hopefully you understand this concept between the emotions, your perceived reality, and your values. In the future, we'll be able to talk more about that on how to control those emotions and solve your anxiety, solve your depression. But in terms of what we're talking about now, which is the self and how to find yourself, what you have to do is work on building your values. So, step one, and there's 2 steps in finding yourself. Step number 1 is to design the self. You'll design the self by studying people that you admire, by studying religious texts that are true, by finding your values. That's something you can actually search for, your values. You're going to do this by reading, by taking in knowledge, and keep it flexible because every single person on this earth, no matter how centered and how actualized they are still on a quest. They are still working towards, they are still in an ever evolving process of building themselves, improving themselves. Every person should be continually working on themselves. So don't feel bad if you find yourself making slight adjustments to your values as you move forward in life. The reality is you have to continue to change your values as you grow. Because as you learn more things and take in more knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you need to evolve as a person. You need to grow. The self is ever changing, ever growing. So who you are today is not exactly who you are tomorrow. So don't feel bad that you don't know who you are. It's just that you need to take time to establish your values. Then, step 2, you need to live each day striving to live up to those values. This is your journey, and as a big part, it's your purpose in life to strive each day to live up to your values. But please understand, everyone has the responsibility to strive to live up to their values. So just because you violated a value today, you don't have to go back into existential crisis and say, I don't know who I am anymore. I violated one of my values today. No, you catch yourself, you recognize what happened. Okay, I got a little upset and I value serenity and peace and I got upset. I went a little bit outside myself today. But that's okay because I know who I am. Because who you are is who you want to be. Who you are is who you want to be until the day you die. Who you are is who you want to be. And then when you're who you were, it's who you were every day. People will then decide for you, this is who that person was based on their track record. So strive each day to live up to your values. If every person, and a part of your values is going to be helping other people, and if every person just dedicated 50% of their potential to living up, to helping everyone else, we would live in a utopia. If they dedicated their just a piece of their potential to actually benefiting mankind and benefiting one another, we would live in a paradise. So please, once you establish your values, work and strive every day to live up to them and continually keep on refining that. For those of you who are in this group and they identify with this concept and they felt like before this discussion, like they didn't know who they were, please don't feel bad. In reality, you are in a very strong position if you came into this feeling like you didn't know who you were, because you are closer to being able to find the best version of yourself, because you are closer to being able to design it, because you have a blank canvas sitting in front of you. The people who need to worry are those who are rigid and say, I am what I am and I'm never going to change. Those are the people I worry about, because you can be locked in, whether it was from childhood or whatever experiences, to racism, bigotry, and violence, and loving and valuing things that ultimately are a detriment to other people around you. Those individuals, those individuals I worry for. But you, the blank canvas, that's beautiful, because you can start painting tonight. And what you come up with, I pray it will be beautiful. So at this time,